how did this March get that so busy? Anyway, hey everybody, what's up? This is Retrokid reviews with literally no one, because, yeah, end of the year, well, stuff is already kind of, in motion when it comes to March, reviews. So, what does that mean? There's a lot of good stuff that came out, this year alone that's already contenders for the top 10, so, yeah, can you tell it's that kind of fast-paced of a year again? Anyway, yeah, main reason why I'm on, the figure form instead of, vlogging, I just want to showcase a couple shows. I am pretty much, trying to tell you that I'm still watching, I'm still reviewing, gonna see if I can do breakdown shorts, kind of like we saw earlier this week with my X-Men 97, react with, Marvel Legends, X-Men characters. That's kind of the plan and the basis there. So with that said, back in the figure form, back in action, aside, let's get to, updates to my X-Men, 97 episode 3 review. So, yeah, I never really got around to doing a full scoring for it when I was doing the, cable bit earlier this week, in case you're watching this. So, yeah, it's actually a solid episode. It's a good reinterpretation of, basically Inferno, like I did with a bit in the shorts. Also, I forgot to mention, that Morph has been pretty much going through it, reliving his trauma with, I don't know, Sinister. Yeah, that's kind of an old 92 thing. Don't know if that was more or less a thing also in the comics. Having also said that, you pretty much get a good closed loop of how Maddie and, Nathan was going to become Cable later on in the series. However, I highly recommend, New Rockstars' breakdown of the whole thing, because, Eric Frost, just recently became a father, and long story short, he really kind of went through that last shot a lot. With a more deeper meaning now that he's a father. So, a good personal note in case of anything. Ultimately, I still love this episode. It's still awesome. I can't wait for more. I think Life Death is going to be the next arc they're going to try to adapt next week. If anything, I don't know much other than it's going to be Forge heavy, so I'm going to try my best to put him in the short when that episode drops as well. And it's kind of the plan going forward for most of these episodes. They're going to be single-jointed into basically being, again, like I said, reacts for multiple X-Men figures that are tied to 97. So it won't be just like a random character later down the road. It's going to be people that are actually in the series. If that's the case, there will be doubles in case I don't have that specific character. So bear with me on that one at the very least. Lastly, before we get to the reason why I kind of rushing this TV/movie roundup, is mainly because I wanted to make this the double review for Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters, and Godzilla X Kong, New Empire, mostly for naming convention, but now I'm going to have to ditch it because didn't get to see it in time, and probably going to have to catch up review that, along with my Toku catch-up going to be doing next week before I go to Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40. So, yes, I am actually going to WrestleMania. I might do a react vlog in case some cool match happens, like, I don't know, Cody Rhodes finally getting the WWE Championship, so kind of can't get me there. It's a genuine act that I'm at the place, but I don't know, WWE's going to WWE with the copyrights. So in case anyone's wondering what happened to my WWE reacts and / reviews, that's mainly why. So if anything else, like always, go to my local WWE channels that I've always watched, like obviously OSW for starters, and then I'm assuming Cultaholic, and again, I'll leave all links down below to wrestling channels you guys are going to need to follow for me coming up next week. So, that being said, let's get to Invincible, because, wow, the last 2 weeks has really been, hey, how much can we kick Rick in the dick before we have to eventually do stuff from the comics? Starting off at the top on Rick's end, yeah, it turns out him getting Grace in the head and having a weird upgrade that I didn't have time to get the frame for, my bad in advance, are apparently in the comics. So again, for people who've read it, Invincible, please let them in the comments if there's any like comic spoilers I should avoid for the rest of the season, since the finale is basically next week. Speaking of that finale, Langstrom is definitely making moves to basically be the true, I guess, arch villain that in I think early years of the books Mark was going through. So also I would love to see some nuance of like the multiverse of like how evil Mark can get if he goes into like his Viltrumite heritage. depending on the realities that Langstrom's been discussing all season long. So, who really knows there? Lastly, I'm just becoming a huge Alan stan. Long story short, I could kind of see why Greg Miller and a lot of OG Invincible comic fans are loving it. Turns out the dude is literally unkillable, given the experimentation he was getting from the Galactic Resistance and stuff like that. To make a long story short, Seth Rogen is doing the best Seth Rogen in like the most wholesome way with the character. So I don't know, go with that as you will. He is executive producer of the series, so I guess him of all people realized this was a really bigger responsibility than I think he thought come last season. Also, speaking of last week's episode, before we get to this lady in the room, yeah, it turns out they had a good meta joke of like how it was cutting the series and stuff like that. Turns out it was a double entendre of the meta. It was basically discussing how hard it was making the show coming out for season 2, and obviously in the universe of the comics, because Mark did attend a faux Comic-Con in the comics as well. Say that 5 times fast. Other than that, yeah, they had an artist at the time to explain how they like recycle shots and stuff like that, kind of like they do for the season's animation. It was a cool, fun meta joke, and that's kind of where the fun ends, because I don't remember this Viltrumite, but long story short, she's a lot scarier if you read the comic spoilers, and goes a little crazier to Mark than I think I can even say here on this platform. So again, there will be some content warnings if you go through that in the Wikipedia, which I will not be leaving down below, because yeah, it's kind of that gnarly. Knowing the history of Invincible goes without saying. However, ultimately for all these episodes, for Invincible, straight 8 out of 10, going on a 9, depending on my recency bias with this new episode. I'm gonna wait for my final overall score for when the finale drops, so I can do a full season proper review. I'm planning to do something in the toy kayfabe, maybe with an actual Invincible figure. It will pertain some slight spoilers of the comments that I know of before going into the show, so let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do that. I'll try to hint it in, I guess, out of the poll on Tumblr or whatever, just to avoid spoilers here on YouTube, so I'll let you know by then. So lastly, in proper reviews now, finally, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So starting off at the top, this is the follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Go to my review at the time for that. And in case I have any recency bias, this was out last week and it made a lot of money. I think like 45 mil budget wise. And can you tell the glaring problem so far with this movie? There's a lot of more Ghostbusters than usual. I think they're missing like 2 or 3 other new cast members. I think even Camille Mongiano, this is a potential final... Oh, it was a final trailer thumbnail. My bad. Advance Sony, in case you get me. Ultimately, it's a busy set. It was a busy shoot. It's a busy story for barely, I want to say, 85 plus minutes of runtime. Yeah, your mileage may vary how you saw it in theaters, but it kind of comes with the territory of me, because that last week I was with family and a lot of extra on my cousin's wife's side of things that I never thought I would see again. People I never saw in years, and it was actually a very fun time at the AMC. And yeah, my cousin is kind of 0 for 2, or no, 1 and 2 for like popcorn themed buckets at AMC. So if you know, you know. But yeah, the Ghostbusters themed bucket was actually a lot more tame than the Doom bucket. Yeah, I tried my best not to explain that in the Doom Part 2 review, so good at that if anything else. As for the plot of this movie, it's kind of what a lot of OG Ghostbusters fans said. I'm not of it. I was around during like the Extreme Ghostbusters era, so carbonating my age here, so just saying that. However, they did have the idea that it was going to have like more real Ghostbusters feels and vibes, and it did at points. I did a lot like what Winston was going through, trying to like rebrand the business, get it like a newer outlet, newer space to like contain the ghost a lot better. That's a good subplot I was cool with. The only one who stuck out the sore thumb as far as the old cast that didn't have a subplot whatsoever was, of course, Bill Murray's Venkman. Yeah, it kind of figures, because yeah, it turns out, for those who don't know, I think production-wise throughout the series, he has always been the holdout of, like, ideas to go through with, like, a third Ghostbusters at the time. Old story here, I'll try to keep it brief. Most of the actors you see here from the original 80s cast all have producer's credit and all get to have the final say for, like, pitches for sequels going forward, hence why Columbia Pictures / now Sony took forever to get these new movies off the ground in the last 8 years. Mainly because Billy, well, Bill over here was the final say and the final decision, so you can tell that. Also, this time around in Frozen Empire's case was not directed by Jason Reitman, but however, his writer, who unironically was the director of that Poltergeist remake a few years ago. No retro trailer there. It's kind of unpredictable as far as remakes go. Got a hold of doing no direction duties for this. Bryman still got writing credit, and I don't know if his late father did as well. They did get a tribute to him as well, and that's kind of the problem I've seen so far with these new Ghostbusters movies. Are they going to come out and in sad timing when another member of the original cast will eventually pass away in the future, of course? Don't really know, and that's a metaphysical or metaphorical discussion for another time. So with that all being said, what do I think of the new cast post their first movie? They're still good. The only one who's got the least screen time, the least to work with, was Finn Wolfhard's Tanner, I think. Trevor. Can you tell I'm losing all the new names here? So, yeah. So for Carrie Coon and Phoebe in the back there, they hold the longest as far as like interpersonal drama with mom and daughter, trying to handle how to be a Ghostbuster after the first movie. Phoebe's case kind of legally can't because, yeah, Walter Peck came back. My bad in advance of not getting his name in time. It's a big cast, in case you could tell. So cast IMDb, like always, in the description. But yeah, he basically bookended the movie, and that's kind of been the problem I've been seeing with most of the old cast when future movies do come out later. Who's gonna be on bookend duty and who's gonna be here for the most screen time? And if your answer is, well, of course, yeah, Ray is gonna have the most screen time because Dan Aykroyd absolutely loves this franchise and absolutely wants to keep it going because it's actually in tandem with what his lifestyle is outside of acting. Again, Wikipedia to his life yourself, trust me, it's wild and weird. And probably conservative, don't really know. As for, yeah, the stepdad over there, yeah, I know it's Ant-Man, yeah, I know, I'm blanking on names, again, that big of a cast. He's doing okay, he does, as far as this project goes, it's definitely a pickup after Quantumania last year, so he'll be okay there. Wow, it's been a while. So, I'll keep it brief before I start, misremembering names last minute. So, it's a strong 7 out of 10, really a 6, depending how bloated the cast is. And I didn't get to the plot itself. Yeah, Frozen Ghost of the Week, and long story short, they bookend by taking him out. Wow, my monitor actually wants me to wrap it up. I'm so sorry. Ultimately, is this a busy mess of an anniversary for the 40th anniversary of the franchise? That's really up to you in the comments, and that's really up to, I guess, anybody else professional that reviewed this. Overall, if I gave it another year or two, I'll say it's the okayest sequels. I'll still ride or die defend Ghostbusters 2. Yes, I grew up with that when it was on VHS back in the day when I was a kid. Yes, I was that old. Sorry again. But, yeah, is it in the Ghostbusters 2 conundrum of way too much, way too soon? Short answer, yes and no. It's really up to you, and, yeah, and that's really all I'll leave and say here. So with that all being said, final thoughts here. This is a strong 6 or 7 out of 10. Most of the Invisible episodes are going on a straight 8 or 9, depending on when the next episode's finale happens next week. And yeah, straight 10s, no notes. Also still for X-Men 97. So for my reviewer roundup out of the way, go to well, no one, because I didn't have a through line for this episode, in case you could tell. Nothing here to my Critical Role shorts, which, yes, I also saw Candela Obscura's first year anniversary episode for Chapter 5, obviously, and I heard that numbers were dipping, and I did see it kind of live, so it's understandable. Don't know on viewership on their personal channel, so again, let me know in the comments down below if you're into that kind of metrics. Other hand, here too, previous video and hopefully upcoming Tokyo Roundup with Godzilla X Kong. My thoughts on Godzilla -1's Oscar win. By the way, I'm still congratulating that. Also, as of this recording, turns out Ranger Board found out that the term tokusatsu is now in the dictionary. Like, links down below. I'll get the news on that. But that all being said, this is a very busy than usual case you could tell. Retrokid review saying that season finale better be dope. I'm just saying, like, think Mark, or I guess maybe Amazon. Think seriously. This season finale better be dope.